Guys, welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we are going to go over the teardown of our L83 5.3 liter truck motor. So, last episode we drove out to Ohio to get this bad guy in here at the shop. Got it in the shop here, and we're going to go through that process and show you how everything unfolded and what it took. So after that, we're gonna start tearing it down, see what's good in here and what's bad. Stay tuned. Okay, so here we got it on the ground. We'll keep working at it here, but I'm gonna get it into the shop. I'm not gonna strip it down here in the next day or so, just because it's got some other things going on. But we'll get this into the shop, get the stand put away, and probably try to at least pull the pan on it, see how the pan looks. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. Okay guys, so what we have here, we got the intake off, we got the valve covers off, and we're down into the valley of the motor. And this is where one of the biggest differences between Gen 4 and Gen 5 stuff pops up. So what we have here is the high pressure fuel pump. This guy is cam driven off a back lobe inside the motor. You'll see it almost looks like one of the old distributor holes on a small like Chevy. It's not, it's the cam pump push rod. And there's a piston in here, and it's just like a diesel, provides high pressure fuel into these channels here. And this feeds these two main fuel rails. So these two fuel rails are high pressure fuel rails. And then right here, you can see the injector caps. So right over top of this is the feeds for the direct injection. This is a really trick setup. It's nice. I would totally run it, but the problem with the L83 motors is that the injectors are too small to make any real serious power with like E85. So if you put E85 through this thing, this fuel system right here is limited to about 600 horsepower. Not so much the fuel system, but mainly the pump and the injectors. If you put a larger pump cam lobe for the pump, they make those for this, that will help, but you're still limited on injector. A lot of guys put LT4 injectors in, but even those you're limited on power levels, so it's sort of a trade-off. So we're gonna convert this motor over to port fuel injection. It is technically a sacrifice because when you go over to port fuel injection, your charge temps actually go up a little bit because of the cooling action that this has in the combustion chamber. So you might lose a little bit of power. Guys are saying you can lose up to 3% of power, but the potential that allows us to push this motor is so much higher. We can really put a ton of fuel into this thing. And with E85, the combustion temperatures are not going to be an issue. We should be able to push well beyond the mechanical limits of this motor fueling wise if we convert to port fuel injection before we ever get into knocking issues. Real quick, while we have this off and we see these cylinder heads, check out these rec ports. These are like a raised rec port. They're very similar. They remind me of something like you see on an R07 NASCAR motor. A little bit taller than the Gen 4 rec port stuff, like the LS3 stuff. Maybe more like an LS7 almost, but it's pretty trick. And then if you look at the valve train, unique to these motors is the intake and exhaust are rotated. They're switched, and not only that, but the valves are canted. So think like a big block almost canted valve, or like a Hemi motor where you have a canted valve set up. So very trick. That canted valve setup allows the cylinders to be fed well unobstructed, and also it induces a lot of tumble and swirl in the combustion chambers, which is always good. So we're gonna keep tearing into this. We're gonna get the rest of the injection system off, get the valley cover plate off, get the manifolds off, and then we'll start working on getting the heads off. Okay guys, so I had to go inside here soon, but I just couldn't take it. So I wanted to flip this motor over and see how it looked. For those of you, I think I said in the last episode, this truck had an oil pump failure. And the main concern was that, hey, the rotating assembly might not be good, but this thing is absolutely cherry so far. So everything spins over super nice. Just took the 2 rod caps off. If the rest of this looks this good, this was like the steal of a lifetime. I got this thing for $300, so pretty much awesome. Looks like the rotating assembly so far looks great. We'll see how the mains look, but awesome. Okay, so it's multiple days later here. It's cold as all get out today, so the garage is a little crisp. But we're gonna go ahead and tear the rest of this stuff off and keep digging in, see what else we can find. All right, so I got the one head off. Everything looks fine with that head. A little bit of crap in here. I think it fell down through the intake, but the bores are clean. So I don't know where the crap came from, but just debris. But taking off the other side, let me spin this around. Everything was going good, taking the bolts out, and I get to that one, and there's a giant socket head cap screw in the head. So I don't know if someone was messing around in here or what, but there is a huge counter head cap screw, or socket head cap screw, in this cylinder head, cylinder number 1. So now I need to go to Harbor Freight and get a cheap Allen bit, or Allen head, and see if I can get this thing spun out of here. But yeah, never a dull moment. I'm starting to wonder, was somebody in here before me? Do we take the Cadillac or do we take the truck? Let's take the Caddy. I just like looking like a homeless guy getting out of a Cadillac. It's fun. All right, so we're back. Got some big old, like Allen sockets. Let's try to get this thing ripped out. I don't know, then I'll have to go in for a little bit, but yeah, that slows you down a little bit when you gotta take an hour to run to the store and then go get your stuff. Okay, so let's see what we got going on here. Overall, bores look awesome. Nice and smooth. Still got the original crosshatch. There's some dirt and junk in there from ripping the heads off and stuff falling down inside there, but that's not a big deal. Let's just sort of spin it over here. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. The hell? It's hard to do with one hand. There we go. So all this stuff here is just superficial. It's just water washing the rust down, but the bores look great. So we're gonna blow them out, keep tearing this down, but so far this motor is cherry. Picked up this engine for $300 and it's looking pretty good. So look at this, guys. This is the pump lifter. This thing is massive. I bet you it's probably 1.25 inches in diameter. This is the hydraulic pump lifter. So everything's just being pushed off this little like lash cap up here. but serious lifter. So it's pretty neat. I just thought I'd show you guys for those that haven't seen it. There's this little tie down here, sort of similar to like the dog bones on like a first gen roller motor, and that just bolts in there. So yeah, pretty neat. All right, so this is cool. So this is a vacuum pump that GM puts on these Gen 5 motors. And this vacuum pump, the intention with this is when you're on AFM or DOD, basically displacement on demand, and for the cylinder shut off, there's not enough vacuum to maintain your vacuum boost brakes. So this is a vacuum system that pulls a vacuum on the pump, on the crankcase. Now that's good for power too, especially with like low tension piston rings and stuff. But what's neat is I thought this was a centrifugal. It's not. It's actually a sliding pump. If you look at this, this is trick, and I might have put it in wrong. Flip this the other direction because it fell on the floor. So this goes one way here. Did I break it? There you go. So this spins like this. And what you have going on here is the motor will be going this way. It's actually going this way. And it's going to be pulling on this chamber, which goes into the crankcase. It expands, pulls it over here, and then what it does is it closes off right here. Okay, so this is being compressed out, and this is being now sealed off, and this here is then compressed out, and it just keeps rotating around. So it's constantly pulling it. It's kind of like a rotary principle, like a Wonkel engine works, but it's a slide valve instead of rotary. And this just expands in here, draws the pressure out of the crankcase, and then expels it out this port. So here's the port on the crankcase side. Here is the exit port, which goes to this section right here. So pretty trick. My buddy Calvin and I were thinking about changing the pulley out in this and overdriving it and seeing if we could use it to pull a crankcase vacuum, like a real serious crankcase vacuum on it. But seeing that this is like a slide valve, I would probably not do that, but that is too cool. So that's a cool little mechanism right there. But yeah, we're gonna probably convert this motor over to dry sump, and we'll get plenty of performance that way. The other cool thing is in here, if you look, if you guys are two-stroke guys, you'll probably be familiar, but this is a reed valve. So these little guys flap open and shut, and that keeps this flowing. I'm trying to think, that would be oriented the wrong way. It's drawing in here, so just in case, so this is the inlet port, and if there's any excess pressure, it bleeds out here. So, pretty trick. All right, guys, so this was pretty much the best deal on anything I've ever gotten in my entire life. This engine is absolutely cherry. So I'm gonna show you guys what's up. This one, mains are perfect, rods are perfect. I mean, there's not the slightest bit of scratching. Head surfaces are perfect. Obviously everything's oily, but if you look at this thing, it's cherry. The bores are excellent condition, just need wiped out, obviously. I'll put a fresh, like, dingleberry, couple passes of dingleberry hone just to freshen it up. And I know you're not supposed to do this, but even the cam bearings are mint. And look at these main bearings. Like, it looks like I just took brand new main bearings and slap some dirty oil on them, and they're like, I mean, I'm not gonna take them out of the bags, but you get the point. They're absolutely perfect. So, so I don't know what to do with this. So do I do the right thing and put new bearings in it and put rods in it and pistons in it, or do I just put some drop-in pistons and rock and roll? I got another tote outside. These engines actually take up a lot of space when you disassemble them. So gonna have 3 full 27-gallon bins. But yeah, some of this stuff's gonna go. I don't need the manifolds, I don't need the intake, etc. But yeah, I'm super pleased with this. Best $300 deal ever. Totally worth driving 5 hours to Ohio. It's pretty awesome. So what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna take this thing out, I'm gonna hose everything down, I'm gonna get this block cleaned up, soak it in Simple Green, get all these parts sort of inventoried and put away. But for this week, I think that's gonna be it. Next week, when you guys tune in, we're gonna go ahead and start working on the rear suspension of this truck. Hopefully by the time you come back, all this will be cleaned up and neat and the shop won't have oil on the floor anymore, and I'll get it back to my pristine fab area. But I'm gonna go ahead and start working on putting in the 3-bar linkage, mounting brackets and all that fun stuff. So that's what we're gonna do the next episode. But guys, this was definitely a win. So if you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. Leave me some comments if you think there's some things that we can improve. I always like hearing from you guys. And let me know what you think. Should we do rods and pistons, full bearings, or do we just throw a set of diamond pistons on this and send it? That's a question. So until next time, guys, have a good one.